Welcome to Talking Points. I'm Dr. Michelle, and we have an awesome guest today. We have Kiara Gary. She is a professional. She is an educator. She is a mother. She is an aspiring entrepreneur. And I'm really excited to say that she is here to actually flip the script. She is going to be interviewing me today. So thank you so much, Kiara, for just being here and doing the interview, for me. I'm generally on the other side of this seat. So it's nice to have it kind of flipped.
For sure. Thank you for inviting me. I am so excited to be here and just really why I'm here discussing you and what you have brought to the table. So thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you for writing this amazing book that I get to interview you about. So Dr. Shelton, let's get this interview started. So foremost, before we begin, I just want to let you know that this book is a masterpiece. And I say masterpiece because it's beautifully written and in a manner where everyone can understand it. Doesn't matter what level of career you're at, you can understand it. And I love the book so much that I'm going to be sharing it with all of the women in my life. I think I tell you that countless times because it's true. And thank you for writing something so magical like this. So, White Shade. Woo-hoo! White Shade, Dr. Shelton. So in the text of White Shade, let's just get it started, right? You talk about and you reference two terms, white shade and white space. Let's get into what that actually means and like how they differ from each other.
I love that question. Very strong question. So starting, of course, with the name of the book, White Shade. White Shade is really kind of a play on the African American colloquialism that we use when we say we're throwing shade at someone. And of course, what that is when you aren't when you're really being passive aggressive, or you're saying something that is almost coming across as if it's not an insult, but it actually is. And so white shade is what happens in the white space. So we're putting those two terms together. So the white space is generally an arena that is really designed for white people. Usually, professional settings, educational settings. There's generally more white people in these spaces. So there's a culture that exists in that environment. And that culture comes across as white shade for a lot of Black people, especially Black professional women that have a stake in these environments.
For sure. Thank you so much. I see it often. I love that. So those are really great points, and I love that you explained that to us. Can you let us know, because I know like so many other people are wondering, and as a reader of the book, I want to know from the source itself, they, right? They is referenced a lot in, I believe it's chapter 4, entitled, Who Are They? Can you break that down for us and let us know who are they, Dr. Shelton?
So they are those who are in power in any professional arena, educational arena, that do well to oppress Black professional women in these contexts. Oftentimes you'll see, and this is just an example, not necessarily one that's in a book, but very, very much aligned to who they are. Let's say you're interviewing for a position and you're a Black woman, of course, and you enter the interview and everyone on the panel is white.
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot. So what's happening is there's a sense of, okay, how well are you going to identify with me because I'm different from you? And oftentimes those differences create a gap in opportunities that we have as Black women or Black people. So they are those who are in position of power, and oftentimes they use their power to continue to oppress Black people, especially in this case, Black women.
Do you ever think that women, Black professional women, can be a part of they?
Absolutely.
Kind of leads me into our next topic about the one at a time ideology, right? You mentioned one at a time ideology, also one at a time syndrome. Like, what does that entail for our Black women? What does that mean?
What happens is because, you know, Black people have been a product of a sense of oppression in these environments for so long, sometimes to align yourself or to associate with those who are, in essence, oppressing you or preventing you from moving ahead, oftentimes gets you ahead. Mm-hmm. Because you've aligned yourself with their purpose as opposed to really just embracing who you are and what you bring to the table, and really trying to pull, you know, allow for those who look like you to elevate as well.
In the beginning of our interview, I read this book from front cover to back, and when you speak of that and how, you know, Black women feel as though only me right now, wait your turn because we both can't be here at the same time, it makes me reference what you have at the end of chapter 4 when you say especially relevant because Dr. Gray should have identified other Black professional educated women from within her arena to guide and to gift. So big, it's so important.
Yes.
You see it so often that women are like shady towards each other. We both can't be here. You know, I love that you shine a light on this topic because it's so necessary.
It is
so necessary. So that brings me and really makes me think of the psychological jujitsu term, right? You use that and you use it in toward the conclusion of the book. I want to know why it's important for us to use that to our advantage.
It's martial arts, and what it does is it allows for us to take in the negative and push it out and push it through, so that we use that negative energy really to empower ourselves and to be strong. And so that is exactly what psychological jujitsu is. So the moment someone tries to do something to cause a sense of stress, anxiety, or, you know, to really prevent us from moving ahead, what we do is we take that same energy they're giving and we push it through and give it back. But we don't give it back in a way that it came to us. We give it back in a way that has a sense of peace, a sense of control, a sense of calm, but a sense of acknowledgement. So I'm acknowledging that you gave me that because I'm letting you know that I know where you're coming from. But when I give it back to you, I'm not going to give it back to you with the same anger, that same disdain that you gave it back to me. I'm giving it back to you because it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. Every chapter, I have a word of advice, and at the end of each chapter, that word of advice really does exactly what I just said. I'm taking what you're giving me just to acknowledge that you've given it, but I'm not going to hold on to it because I'm giving it back to you because it doesn't belong to me. And so that's my goal after every chapter, is really just to let us know as Black women, Black professional women, that we're going to encounter these issues. We're going to encounter this inherent disdain that, you know, the oppressor has for us. However, we have the skills, we have the tools, and we have the ability to communicate and articulate ourselves to let you know that we're not standing for that because I'm better than that.
Absolutely. I love your explanation of that. It kind of makes me think of our previous FLOTUS and her husband, the President Barack Obama, kind of like when they go low, we go high.
Yes, like that.
Don't you give all of that back. You kind of you let them know that you see I see you. I see
Yes,
you, but I'm not going to respond to you the way you think or think I'm going to respond to you. I love that. That's so good.
that's it.
So, Dr. Shelton, in the book, and I love referencing the book because, like I told you, I feel like it's totally a masterpiece. You mentioned something entitled The Tri Meaning of White Space. I like to get back to that white space. So, you explained that there's a first, a second, and a third version of this space. Can you explain that?
So the tri meaning, it comes across in so many ways. And one of the ways that I find really profound is the white space being a metaphor for us as writers, being authors of our own story. So it's important for us to fill in the white pages or the white space with some black text, with who we are, what we stand for, right? So then, yeah, and then the other is, the white space exactly as we see it, where that space is reserved for quote unquote white people, and that our black presence sometimes somehow doesn't um, you know seem appropriate when it actually is. We have just as much um, power and autonomy as anyone else does or should have. And so that's one of the meanings. And then the third meaning is really just filling in a void. So oftentimes there's an opportunity to create something that doesn't already exist, where inventions come in and where businesses are booming. So you have all of these three ideas that really create the white space, and so they connect because what it essentially is saying is that there is always room for something else. And so what is status quo isn't necessarily the right way. We need black text to fill these spaces. We need black opportunities, entrepreneurship. We need to fill the void. And so that's what the tri meaning is essentially bringing together at the end.
That is absolutely amazing, Dr. Shelton. And I feel like this has been an amazing interview. And I thank you so much for shining light and normalizing that there is white shade and the white space and that it does exist and giving us tactics. Like you said, you mentioned so many words of advice after these many stories in your book. And you offer that to everybody. And it's like a cheat sheet. I know that in our conversation a few weeks ago, I'm like, it's like a cheat sheet. It's like you take this,
Yes.
you carry it with you because you don't have to challenge this alone now. You know what to say and you can use your voice. I feel like so many women just allow this to happen or,
Yeah.
to be shaded and don't ever say anything. So I thank you for this book. I thank you for the interview. I thank you for allowing me to even be in your presence. You know how I feel about you. So thank you,
Love you.
thank you, thank you. I'm so excited for you in this book.
I thank you, Kiara. I so appreciate you on so many levels. Just your ability to really capture the essence of the text, and that's actually the way we've connected. I really appreciate um, how it resonated with you and how you were able to give it back to me. That to me was a gift unto itself. And so I wish you many blessings, and just know that I'm here. I think that this is a new beginning for the both of us. I look forward to the rapport we are continuing to build and where this is going to go. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you
I
so
do.
much, and thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, guys. So that is your show tonight. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing, commenting, and rating this, we would be so appreciative. So thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
You've just watched the Talking Points podcast. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button.